Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hide, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, Hunter. Welcome back to the Baseball Hide 2, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. As you know, if you don't know, Jackson Holliday is the #1 prospect in Major League Baseball, and he got a bit of a cup of coffee a few months ago in April. It didn't pan out so well, so the Baltimore sent them back to the minors. They've been playing so well, being in second place. They played so well, they have such a good lineup, young lineup. They didn't really need him yet, so there was no rush to have him here and struggle. And he really struggled poorly. But there is a rumor going around. Amazingly enough, I'm very surprised by this. This is from CBSSports.com. Headline: Orioles Jackson Holliday on trade block. Question mark. 3 reasons why it's highly unlikely, and 1 reason for rumors. GM Mike Elias was asked about the possibility on Thursday. Baltimore Orioles minor league infielder Jackson Holliday, CBS Sports #1 prospect entering the spring, which is pretty much for everybody, has had an eventful year. He started the season in the minors after narrowly missing the opening day roster. Reached the majors before tax day, suffered through a poor 10-game stretch that resulted in a demotion, and most recently missed 2 weeks because of right elbow inflammation. Wow. That's a full season of development for most players, all packed into 3 months. Wow. To see him miss that kind of time, that's unbelievable. Holliday's year could be on the cusp of getting weirder. On Thursday, Orioles GM Mike Elias made an appearance on the Norfolk Tides broadcast, the AAA affiliate of the Orioles. Elias was asked a hypothetical question designed to gauge the possibility of a Holliday trade by this deadline. Quote, "It's a tough one to trade. He's the #1 prospect in minor league baseball," Elias said. "There's a hard talent to get your hands on. We have him. We've been developing him, and we've got very high hopes for him. He's exceptionally far ahead of anyone in his age group, so it's not something we're going to be eager to explore." He went on from being asked, "When will Holliday debut? Would you trade Holliday in 3 months' time?" That's not the standard arc for the game's top prospect. Different people will have different interpretations of Elias' answer. For some, there's an implicit no in his words. For others, the lack of an explicit no is notable. Of course, if Elias had said no, even that would have been scrutinized as posturing. With all that in mind, CBS figured it would be worthwhile to lay out 3 reasons why a Holliday trade is highly unlikely. Also offered 1 reason why it shouldn't be a surprise if Holliday's name does come up in trade talks. #1, it would be an overreaction. The easiest mistake to make in baseball analysis is overreacting to a small sample size. There's a difference between being stubborn and being unmoored, between being nimble and being foolhardy. The introduction of ball tracking data has made it easier to fall on the wrong side by granting us a greater degree of confidence in certain samples than their actual predictive value demands. There's no denying it. Holliday had a bad 10-game stretch in the majors. He went 2 for 34 of 18 strikeouts and 2 walks. I would mention, he's 19 years old, 20 years old. They drafted him 2 years ago. That is a very small sample size, and he has good bloodlines. His father was a very good major leaguer, for a long time. And Matt Holliday, so there's really no reason to sort of not think that he's going to be any good. Gunnar Henderson won last season's Rookie of the Year award and might win this season's AL MVP award. And because of that, no one remembers how he opened 23 with a 10-game stretch that saw him go 5 for 34, 17 strikeouts, pretty much the same. It doesn't stop there either. Bear with us, we're about to engage in some deliciously selective end at points. Henderson, who entered 2023 ranked as our #1 prospect, was sporting a career 218 slash line in his first 67 games. Catcher Adley Rutschman was hitting 210 with twice as many strikeouts as walks through his first 44 games. Outfielder Colton Cowser had a 433 OPS in 26 games last season, and so on and so forth. I mean, really, the problem is probably that Holliday had a difficult time with the speed of the game. Speed of the game seems to be the biggest issue with young players, especially when they're prospects, that they have the biggest adjustment that they have to make. #2, it wouldn't fit the Orioles' philosophy. We should grant some country to those who view a Holliday trade not as a reaction to the struggle, but as a reaction to the Orioles' roster complexion. Those individuals, and we assume a few of them do exist, have likely wanted Baltimore to pursue a Holliday trade dating back to last winter. We understand how one could look at the Orioles' depth chart, overbrimming with productive infielders, and concluding that Baltimore doesn't necessarily need Holliday, and how their World Series hopes would be improved by moving him for another frontline starter to steady an injury-ravaged rotation. After all, they have the younger pair of Henderson and Jordan Westberg on the left side of the infield, as well as Jorge Mateo and Ryan Mountcastle to man the right side. And that's without considering AAA infielder Kobe Mayo, who will make his own debut over the coming weeks. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They spent all this time, and even though they changed ownerships, they spent all this time developing this farm system. You want to trade a player that he's doing well, but you don't want him not struggling, and then basically punish him by sending him to the minors and then trade him. That, I don't know what kind of message that sends to the other younger players that you have on your team. I don't think the time is right to move him, to be honest with you. There's no reason to. Number 3, the market isn't there. Let's conclude this section by taking a different perspective on the Holliday trade idea. Say the Orioles were serious about moving him. Who would they trade him for? At the month out from the deadline, this doesn't look like a good buyer's market. The muddled state of the National League wildcard race means there are about a handful of surefire sellers. Few of them have the kind of player the Orioles would want in return for such a promising young talent. You can argue for Luis Robert Jr. or Garrett Crochet or whomever. We're not knocking them as players, but we're unconvinced they'd meet Holliday because of their durability concerns. Now, you can argue that dangling him would open more doors by convincing some fringe contenders to change their approaches or unlock some surprising names in negotiations. I don't know about that. I mean, you don't move him. It's not the right time. Here's the reality of pro sports. There's no such thing as an untouchable, and there's certainly no such thing as an untalkable. That's true. Every player gets discussed at some point. The Kansas City Royals ask about, say, Bobby Witt Jr.'s availability. That's exactly what happened last winter before the Orioles signed him to an extension. Well, that's interesting. All players can be moved, especially young players. The contract is just the minimum. But there's no reason to move him. I mean, why did you draft him? And 2 years later, you're going to move him, and he was the number 1 pick in the draft. And this is a player that's considered a generational type player. And what's interesting about what the Orioles have done all these years is they've developed all this positional talent, but they did very little in terms of developing their pitching. That's why they had to make a deal for Corbin Burns right before the season started, because they don't have any talent on the level that could get them to the World Series. This is about getting them to the World Series. Okay? And if you trade, say, a Holliday to a team that has a big pitcher, it's like, what team are we talking about here? I mean, there's not a lot of options here. And within 3 years, if he starts playing, if he goes to a small market team, he's going to get moved again. So some team is going to have to look at him and say, well, we're going to sign him to a long-term deal, especially if he plays well the first half. Say he gets traded after July 30th, and he gets moved, and he starts playing for that other team. They're going to have to consider signing him to a long-term deal. And if they're a small market that just moved their ace pitcher, they're going to be able to afford him. He's going to be looking for a lot of money, even at a young age. He's going to want to look for a Bobby Witt Jr. type contract. What teams have the ability to do that? I don't know. Or he might want to just not be with the team that he got traded to. What if he got traded to the Marlins? Just use them as an example. Nobody wants to play for the Marlins. Or he gets traded to the Rays. Nobody wants to play for the Rays. Because they know that those teams aren't going to sign him any long-term deals. Just saying. Well, anyway, let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut too. I have the best rumors out there for you as we get close to the deadline. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.